The classroom fell silent the moment the sound of a slap echoed against the walls. Students froze in disbelief, their notebooks halfway open, pencils dangling in midair. No one had expected it to go this far. A group of notorious bullies, who had long tormented both classmates and teachers, had just crossed a line that could never be undone. They had slapped their own teacher, Ms. Rivera. Ms. Rivera, a soft-spoken woman in her early 30s, had always been known for her gentle patience. She wore glasses that gave her a bookish look, and her voice was never raised louder than necessary. Many students assumed she was too timid, too kind for her own good. And for the longest time, the bullies believed she was easy prey. They mocked her accent, ridiculed her calm manner, and whispered insults during lessons. But today, their cruelty reached its peak. One of the ringleaders, a tall boy named Brandon, had been mouthing off all period. When Ms. Rivera calmly asked him to stop disrupting class, he smirked, stood up, and in front of everyone, slapped her across the face. Gasps filled the room. Some students covered their mouths, others lowered their eyes, too afraid to speak. Everyone thought Ms. Rivera would cry, run out of the room, or maybe even quit on the spot. But she did none of those things. Ms. Rivera slowly removed her glasses, placing them neatly on her desk. Her cheek was red, but her eyes, usually warm and gentle, now carried a sharp fire. She straightened her posture, her presence suddenly commanding in a way no one had ever seen. The bullies, still laughing, had no idea what was about to happen. In a calm but steady voice, she said, "You've mistaken kindness for weakness. That was your first mistake." Before Brandon could sneer back, Ms. Rivera shifted her stance. In one fluid motion, she disarmed his attempt to push her again, twisting his wrist with such precision that he dropped to his knees, shocked and wincing in pain. The entire class erupted into stunned silence. Nobody had ever seen her move like that. Another bully, Marcus, rushed forward as if to defend his friend, but Ms. Rivera sidestepped his charge effortlessly, using his momentum to flip him harmlessly onto a desk. Her movements weren't wild or violent. They were controlled, calculated, and graceful. She wasn't attacking. She was defending herself with the skill of someone who had been trained for years. Only then did she reveal the secret that none of her students had ever known. "Before I became a teacher, I trained in martial arts for over 15 years, she said firmly. I learned discipline, respect, and strength. I never wanted to use it here, because I believe knowledge and kindness are stronger than fists. But today, you left me no choice." The bullies sat stunned, their arrogance shattered. The rest of the class, who had once doubted Ms. Rivera, now looked at her with a new kind of awe. For the first time, they saw her not just as a teacher but as a fighter, someone who had chosen patience over power until she had to show both. But the story didn't end there. The challenge wasn't just dealing with bullies, it was what came after. The principal, hearing about the incident, was torn. Would parents accuse Ms. Rivera of going too far? Would the school board misunderstand her actions? Miss Rivera faced whispers in the teacher's lounge and judgment from a few parents who only heard half the story. For a while, it seemed like standing up for herself had brought more trouble than peace. Yet, something unexpected happened. Her students, the ones who had always admired her quiet strength, but never spoke up, began to defend her. They wrote letters to the administration, explaining how the bullies had terrorized the class for months, and how Ms. Rivera had shown nothing but restraint until she was pushed to her limit. Some even confessed that her courage inspired them to finally stand up to the bullies outside the classroom. Even Brandon, after being suspended, came back weeks later with a different attitude. He avoided Ms. Rivera at first, but slowly, guilt got the better of him. One afternoon, he stayed behind after class. In a voice almost too low to hear, he said, "I'm sorry. I thought you were weak. I was wrong." Ms. Rivera didn't smile, but she nodded. Strength isn't about hurting people, Brandon. It's about protecting what's right, even when it's hard. I hope you remember that. The lesson stuck. The bullying in her class died down, not just because of fear, but because Ms. Rivera had shattered the illusion that kindness meant weakness. Her secret wasn't just martial arts. It was resilience, courage, and the choice to fight only when necessary. By the end of the school year, Ms. Rivera wasn't just respected as a teacher. She was admired as someone who had taught her students the most important lesson of all: true strength lies in self-control, not cruelty. And so, the story that began with a shocking slap ended with a classroom transformed, not by violence, but by the inspiring reminder that no matter how gentle someone seems, their spirit can hold more power than anyone imagines.